Boom, 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 boom. Hello, Alain. Good to see you there. Hopefully you can hear me. Let's see, is it working? Is it working today? Yes. Just realized that there is no reason for me to wear my headphones if I'm not playing the piano or anything, right? So I don't have to. Hi, Rocky. Welcome to the class. Good to see you there. We are going to start soon. You can already see the piano there in the back, because as soon as I finish the class, I have to connect to the Korea Academy to lead a little service with them for Kabbalat Shabbat. So I have two great things coming up, because this week is a great parsha, and then it's time to start preparing ourselves for Shabbat. Yeah. Great that you can see and hear perfectly. That's always good. Always good. We are going to give a couple more minutes. Hello, Gloria. Welcome. It's funny that I'm drinking some, I don't know if you ever tried it, it's that Diet Pepsi caffeine-free. And there is a shortage of that specific beverage in the city. It's a big mystery why it's gone from all the shelves everywhere. And it is one thing that I read about it, that basically is because of the pandemic. There are certain ingredients that are difficult to get. So basically, the companies decided to put all the production into certain products only, the ones that they sell the best. And also, I don't know if you noticed that there is a shortage of tonic water. Have you noticed that? And it's because some people believe that the ingredient there, quinine, I think it is, some people believe that they have some qualities to prevent coronavirus. And that was this crazy theory that came from the United States. So funny. Yeah. Hi, Terry says that Mentos are also out of the shelves. No, I'm not into Mentos. No, yeah, I believe you. There are lots of things that the same thing that my son likes this fruit pouch, and there are certain things that you cannot, certain flavors that are impossible to get. Tonic water helps to prevent leg cramps. Okay. Yeah, but it's Gustavo Schnittman. Hola. Feliz cumpleaños también, ¿no? Happy birthday. Welcome, everyone. Okay, let's study a little bit of Torah. It's always good to prepare a Shabbat. And I'm so sorry. I have to apologize that I couldn't connect yesterday. It's a very funny story. I got a new router for my home. I had a fast internet before, but now with this new one, I upgraded the plan. It's even faster. And I decided to try it for my Torah class. So I unplugged the old one, and what happened? I broke the Ethernet cable. So I didn't have a way to connect the new router. I ran to Best Buy that I couldn't make it on time. So here we are on Friday for this week. So I apologize for all of you that were looking for the class yesterday and couldn't find me there. Let's begin. Let's begin with Parsha Shlach Lecha. This is the famous story of the 12 spies that Moses sent to the promised land so they could scout this land to see what's going on. Because remember The Israelites marched from Egypt to the border of the land of Israel. So they never knew what was expecting them there. They heard stories, but nobody actually saw with their own eyes what's going on. So they had this great idea. And I said they because this didn't come from God. Actually, this was a request from the Israelites to Moses. Okay, this is something very important. Even though God said, yes, do that, it did not come from God. God was almost expecting that there was no need for them to go and explore what is there, that they should trust that whatever obstacle they were going to find along the way, they will always find a way to overcome those obstacles the same way that happened all along the way. So in God's eyes, there was no difference. There was no difference. They had obstacles before, they overcame the obstacles, they're going to have obstacles in the future, and they will also overcome the obstacles. So there was no need to desperate. Nevertheless, they were nervous, they were anxious. I said, please, at least let us go there to see what's going on so we can prepare ourselves better. Oh, great idea. Moses said, you know what? If that's the reason, if the reason is to prepare yourself better, to be better prepared for the challenge, by all means, let's do it. In fact, it is exactly what is going to happen for the next generation with Joshua. They will also send spies, so they will be better prepared for whatever comes after. Fine. So they wanted to send a group, but here we can see how it looks like the tribes did not trust each other. So each tribe insisted that they should send a representative. So each one of the tribes will be represented with this group. That's not an optimal solution because, if you want to send spies, you don't want to send a large group because you will be recognized as spies right away. I mean, look, this is also very interesting because this is the Haftorah that we read this Saturday. What happened the next time that they have to send spies? They send only 2 people. That's the way you do it. They can blend in with the population. Nobody will spot them, even though they did spot them, but that's another thing. But a group of 12 is massive. Fine. They went anyway. They spent a few days traveling around. They wrote a report. Now they came back and everybody was expecting this report from the 12 spies. What happened? Exactly what you have in front of you on the screen. Okay? Let's see who else is there. Before that, hello, Linda. Welcome to the class. Hi, Marie. Thank you for your words. Thank you. Okay, so this is what happened. It said, the spies are reading the report. We arrived at the land to which you sent us, and indeed, it flows with milk and honey. And this is its fruit. So it looks like at that point, they kind of show the fruits that they brought. And everybody was, oh, wonderful. This is what comes next. But the people that dwells in the land is powerful. The cities are very greatly fortified. And we also saw there the offspring of the giant. What an amazing report. They start with some flattering sentence to say how great everything was. And immediately after, they said, yeah, but there is a but. The but is things are great, but look, we saw powerful people. We saw the cities were fortified. We saw giant people there. So there is no way. There is no way. Right away, let me tell you something here, because this was the first mistake that they made. They kind of confused their mission. Their mission was never to report if it was possible or not possible. That wasn't up to them. All they had to do is to observe and report. And then there will be another group that they know more about military strategies and other things, that they will decide how to do it based on the information that they bring. So first mistake they make was to take upon them the task of saying, yes, it's possible, no, it's not possible. That's not what they were asked. All what they were asked is observe and report. But I want to concentrate here on that little word that I highlighted there on verse 28, the word but. Because I think it's a terrible word in general when we talk to each other. And I don't know if it ever happened to you, right? But the word but, it's a bad word in the sense that most of the time we use it to kind of confuse to the listener. I want to talk about a little bit more about that in a minute. But before I do that, let's go to the next text. You will see, it will be more clear what I'm trying to say here. Okay, this is a text that is based on something that Ramban said, this famous rabbi. He's also called as Nachmanides. Don't get confused with Maimonides, who was the Rambam with an M at the end. This is a different guy. Okay, this is what he says. The spies report opened with the answers to the issues they had been charged to investigate. Okay, very nice, very nice. In all this, they said the truth. Therefore, they indeed should have continued. The people that dwells in the land is powerful. Okay, that is a fact. They were powerful. For Moshe had commanded them to find out if they are strong or weak. The wickedness of the spies was uttering the word but. Without the word but, the report would have continued to be a simple enumeration of facts. The addition of but signified something negative and beyond human capacity, something impossible to achieve under any circumstances. Thus, the spies were reporting that the desirability of the land, notwithstanding, it was impossible to vanquish the native population. This is something very interesting, because sometimes that's exactly the way we use the word but when we talk to somebody else, right? And let me give you a few examples the way we use it. Oh, you're so wonderful, but and then you know that whatever I said before doesn't really matter, because after the word but is what I'm really trying to tell you. So this is exactly the way they were using it. So something that I realized, let me share it with you here on the screen, right? Ignore everything that comes before the word but, because the real message comes after it. The word but separates the fake agreement from the real disagreement. But dismisses or minimizes what precedes in and highlights and emphasizes what follows it. Do you agree with that? Type it in the messages. I would like to hear your opinions about the way we use the word but. And this is not a minor thing, because we know that the spies were punished for what they did. I think they were also punished for the way they did it and how they tried to trick the people into rebellion against Moses. They kind of succeeded, and they dragged the entire nation of Israel into a massive punishment. That what happened is the whole business of entering to the promised land was delayed 40 years, and everything started with the usage of that little word, the word but. So sometimes we have to be careful when we talk to other people. And I think people are not stupid, right? I'm sorry I use that word, but that I can't think of anything better. They realize when we are using that little word, that really the real message starts after the words but. So what's the word we should use in general instead of using the word but? The best one I found is and. Not but and. Right? So then you have a balance of things that I'm trying to tell you. Otherwise, the word but will immediately disregard whatever I said before that word. It's very interesting. And sometimes there are things that we can learn from the Torah that they're unexpected. I never realized that I will learn how to properly use the word but from a verse in the Torah. And I never realized how I was using it in the past and how bad sometimes it is to use it that way, to try to minimize other people and the like. It's a very interesting thing. Okay. No messages, eh? Okay, so let's continue with the next text. I want to talk a little bit more about what happened. Okay, Rocky, let's see. Rocky Pollack says, but that's not necessarily dismiss or minimize what precedes, but isn't a valid way to emphasize what followed. Okay. Yeah, that's why I wanted to know what you people think about it. I really think that many times, and we all know how to recognize those occasions. It's not the greatest thing. It's not the greatest word. Okay. Let's continue with the next text. This is more about the report of the spies. Okay, the entire assembly raised up and issued its voice. The people wept that night. All the children of Israel murmured against Moshe and Aaron, Moses and Aaron. And the entire assembly said to them, if only we have died in the land of Egypt. Why is Hashem bringing us to this land to die by the sword? Okay. This is why I think this is an amazing statement from them. Because here we have a clear statement letting us know the way they were truly feeling about their relationship with God. What do I mean with that? We might think that at this point, after all the miracles that they experienced in the desert, all the miraculous things that they saw, things that we can't even imagine because we don't have those kind of miracles in our lives in these days. You see, the Red Sea doesn't split in half for us. We don't have manna from heaven. I mean, literal manna from heaven. We don't have it. We have to really stretch our faith to realize that something miraculous is happening in our lives. So in other words, the miracles in these generations are more implicit than explicit, the way they experience in the desert. They were thirsty. There was miraculous water coming from the ground. They were tired of manna. They wanted meat. Miraculously, meat was dropping from heaven. And yet, at this point, they say something like this, right? First, they raised up and issued their voice. They wept that night. You realize that they wept that night. I think these things are trying to push us to imagine things. Try to bring those images to your mind. Think on your life. What will make you cry for an entire night, right? And then the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron, and the entire assembly said to them, only we have died in the land of Egypt. You see the lack of faith that they had? Unbelievable. Why is Hashem bringing us to this land to die by the sword? In other words, it's almost like they already know what God wants from them, and it's nothing good. So their doubts about God and the intentions and their future and everything is at a low point. But again, the question is, how is that possible after all the miracles they experience? How can they doubt God after experiencing miracles? And I think this is an open question for each one of us. The question is, how can you doubt God after that miracle that happened in your life, right? Because we all went through situations where we believe that something miraculous happened to us, right? But nevertheless, after experiencing that, of course, even that is probably at a smaller scale than what they experienced, right? But nevertheless, sometimes we feel that we did experience something miraculous. The question is, how can we doubt God after that? And I was trying to find some kind of rabbinic answer for that. The best that I found a beautiful text from Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. I don't know if you ever heard about him. He was a very famous rabbi on the 20th century in the United States. He was an Orthodox rabbi. He was a halachic authority. And his authority was kind of recognized by most people in the Orthodox world. It's very rare that you have this kind of rabbi which is so popular among so many different groups of people. And whenever he was saying something, he will make noise. Okay, so he was a very famous rabbi. He was a scholar. He wrote many letters of responsa, and then those letters were put together into a book, into publication. So Rabbi Feinstein brought lots of answers, halachic answers to modern challenges that we had on the 20th century. So let's see what he have to say about this situation that we are talking about. How can you doubt God after experiencing miraculous situations? Let's read it together. He says, there is a great difference between individuals who have developed a faith in a loyalty to God through labor and toil, and those who experience an epiphany through miracles and wonders. The generation of the wilderness gained their awareness of God through the miracles that they witnessed over the prior 2 years. Although this generation had the greatest awareness of the Creator in the history of the world, they were accustomed to believe only in that which their eyes saw. Since they had only seen supernatural miracles, but had not yet observed God's providence manifest in nature, such as His intervention to assure victory in battle and conquest, they could not fathom. Oh, hold on a minute. My son needs me. That's okay. That's okay. You know what happened when you swallow gum? What? You poop it. What? You poop it. Are you sure? Yeah, it's good. Okay. Go. It happens to me many times. Okay? Next time, be careful. Have some water, please. Water helps. Sorry about that. Had a little accident. Let's continue. Without supernatural intervention, they would have to engage in a war that they could not naturally win. Since their faith was rooted in God's obvious wonders, they lacked a developed awareness of God and the spiritual world, maintaining an attitude of, I'll believe it when I see it. This generation believed because they did actually see wonders, but they had not been trained to use their intellectual faculties and rational thought to have faith even before any sign of assistance or respite were apparent. Do you understand what I'm saying here? It's almost implying that they didn't believe because they didn't go to the yeshiva, right? Because they were based their faith on miracles, and they were not basing their faith on studying of Torah. It's a huge difference. He's implying here, Rabbi Feinstein is implying that this kind of faith that is based on miracle is easy come, easy goes. You will believe pretty fast, or you will think that you believe, but as soon as you don't see something, you will stop believing. Easy come, easy goes. The faith that is developed through the study of Torah, through wrestling with the text, through discussing through your thoughts with your rabbi, with your colleagues, with your friends, it's a longer journey. It takes longer to develop that feeling of awareness of God and a kind of understanding of the world, of our mission, of things that we should do. It takes longer, but it's solid. That's the kind of faith that it will be with you all along your life. But it takes hard work. It's like everything in life. When usually when we go to quick solutions, you might have the illusion that they work, but they usually work for a short period of time, and then you usually go back to the old you. It happened with certain exercises. It happened with dieting. It happened with many things. If you go for the quick solution, usually it's not the best solution. Faith is exactly the same. It's exactly the same. So don't be discouraged if you're in that pursuit of having a stronger faith and you don't feel it. Don't be discouraged. What you have to do is to keep strong in the process of studying Torah, reading books, listening to lectures, looking around. And little by little, you're going to build that faith that you were looking for. And I can feel that it's like the same in many things in life. Going back to that, it's like going to the gym. When you go there for a few months and you don't really see the results you were looking for, but it doesn't matter. You have to be strong. Don't be a quitter. Stay there. Stay strong. And eventually you will see it. Faith is exactly the same. Stay strong, and eventually your effort will be rewarded. You have to stay strong and never quit. Okay? This is exactly what this other rabbi is saying here. Right? Victor Miller says, gaining a strong and authentic trust in God takes a lifetime of effort. One must invest much time and effort contemplating the design and complexity evident in creation, the laws of the Torah and its prophecies, and accurate historical events on the world level and an individual level. Judaism does not embrace blind faith and a mere utterance of "I believe." There must be honest and careful study of the facts that result in an informed decision and a developed understanding of our Creator. Beautiful. Beautiful thing. Any comments so far? Let me make a pause to look at my screen to see if I have any messages. It's always good. Seeing none, let's continue with the next text. I want to move on to another verse. Yes, Renee, what happened? 1 second, guys. I'm in the class.
Basically, I don't know what to do because my mother won't answer my calls.
That's okay, she's working, Renee. I heard.
I need her to answer.
Okay. Back to study. Okay, this is more about the reaction of the people after the negative report of the spies. But remember the context from the 12 spies, 10 said, this is bad, we won't be able to do it. And only 2 said, let's go for it. Those were Yehoshua bin Nun and Caleb ben Yefuneh. Those were the 2 heroes here. One is more famous than the other. Yehoshua bin Nun, also called as Joshua, he was rewarded with, because he was always Moses' assistant, he was his right hand, he was always learning from Moses, and eventually he became the next leader of the Jewish people. Okay, so we can understand that he was rewarded with a ticket to the promised land. So basically God said, the whole generation that accepted the negative report are going to die in the desert. They are not going to enter to the promised land, except Joshua and Caleb. Okay, the 2 spies that they said, let's do it, we can do it, etc. So those 2 were rewarded. Joshua, we already know how many good things he did, so it's we can understand his reward. But Caleb, according to the rabbis, did something that is also great, and we are going to explore in a minute. So let's read this text. Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, so remember, try to imagine, again, this parsha is pushing us to imagine the situation. Try to imagine the reaction, the mob. They're trying to come at Moses because they were desperate. And then Joshua, almost like he took the microphone, right, as, and spoke to everybody. I don't know how they did it in those days because they didn't have microphones. I was always curious how were they able to address this masses of people, but never mind. Okay, then Caleb quieted the people. Shh, stop, let me talk. Shh. Thank you. We should by all means go up and take possession of it, for we will surely overcome it. Right? Again, it's almost like a how you call it in these days? Motivational speaker. You can do it. You can do it. Right? And then, after Caleb said that, the men who had gone up with him, in other words, the other 10 spies that they were for the negative report, they said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are too strong for us. In other words, Caleb said, you can do it. And the other says, oh, no. Don't listen to him. We cannot do it. Now, this is something very interesting. Because and I want to quote Rabbi Moshe Feinstein in a minute again. But the question is, why do you think the other 10 people felt that they have to say something after what Caleb said? People already accepted the bad report from the 10 spies. Not Caleb said, no, we can do it. Let's go for it. So what? It's your opinion. People already accepted the fact that the negative report is true. Right? But no, the other 10 felt this need to say something after Caleb's words. So they said, no, we won't be able to do it. So Moshe Feinstein said something very interesting. Very interesting. I think it's amazing. He said, the fact that the 10 had to retort that the conquest was impossible, that they had to restate their argument and fortify it, indicates that Caleb's statement impacted the Jewish nation, negating the skepticism of the 10 spies' initial declaration and causing the masses to sway, re-embracing Hashem's promise, albeit for only fleeting moments. Herein lies the great worth of Caleb's deed. Jewish law dictates that a moment of physical life is so precious that even a brief extension of life justifies desecration of the Shabbat. Similarly, affording one's fellow Jew an additional moment of spiritual life, as a mentor, as a teacher, as a parent, or as a friend, is a tremendous act, one worthy of such fantastic reward, like the reward that Caleb received for what he did. So this is the thing, and this is what I think this is amazing what happened here. Caleb was rewarded not only because he brought a positive report, but he was also rewarded because for a few minutes he was able to bring to all this mass of Jewish people a little moment of deep connection with God. For a few minutes they remember who they were. For a few minutes they remember their mission. For a few minutes their soul was elevated. Just by saying the words, we can do it. We have what it takes. Remember all the miracles. We are not here by mistake. God guided us here. So they remember. They remember. Of course, then the other 10 came and they planted a seed of doubt, right? And everything was back the way it was before. And everybody, poof, like they forgot all that feeling that Caleb brought to them for a few minutes. But nevertheless, we learn from here that we should all be like Caleb. What does it mean? It means that sometimes we know that most people will never change their lifestyle. Will never. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter what you tell them. They won't change the way they live, right? And I'm trying to imagine, for example, I don't know how many people are watching this class, right? And I'm teaching Torah to you. And of course, I would love that everybody watching this class, after the class is over, will change their lifestyle. And they will have a perfect kosher home. And they will observe Shabbat. And they will put on tefillin in the morning. And they will pray 3 times a day. And so many other things. But I know that that's not going to happen. As soon as this class is over, most of you will go back to the old you. But you know what? That's fine. That's fine. What I'm trying to achieve in these few minutes that we have together is to elevate your soul for an hour or so. And that's okay. That's okay. That's what Caleb did. And that's what we all should learn. That we should never say, I won't bother talking Torah to my friend because he will never change. I don't think it's worth to buy a Jewish book to my other friend because, it's worthless. He will never change the way he or she lives. It doesn't matter. Because if you can bring spiritual elevation for a minute, you became like Caleb ben Yefuneh. And he was rewarded with entering to the promised land. It's a tremendous reward to bring that kind of spiritual joy that somebody else. It's very important. So don't get desperate because somebody won't change. That's not your goal. Your goal is not to change the other person. Your goal is to bring a moment of spiritual joy. And by doing that, also you're planting a seed of faith, a seed of Torah. And eventually that seed can become something greater. But this is the great thing that Caleb is teaching us here. That it's not all or nothing. That we can become great influence just by doing something today, even if tomorrow they will go back to their old day. It's an amazing concept. It's truly, truly, truly an amazing concept. And what said Linda? Linda said, "Thank you very much for sharing how Kelly was positive, and in these times, it does lift up my soul. God is with us and in control. Amen." Thank you, Linda. Thank you. And Priscilla, welcome to the class. Shabbat shalom to you too, Priscilla. Okay. So there is another text that I wanted to share with you. And it's something that always bothers me. And it's, why would these 10 spies insist on the negative report? Right? Because they went to the promised land. They saw how great it was. Right? When you have when you can see with your own eyes and you see how great it is, don't you think that it's worth to fight for it? You want to go back to the life in the desert, eating manna every day, walking around, living in tents instead of having an opportunity to enter the promised land, to have a city, to settle with your family, to start a business or whatever? Why will you drag people back to the desert? What was their motivation to do such thing? Let's continue. To answer that question, I wanted to share with you this text from Rabbi Luzzatto. He says, "It is possible that a person can overcome his inclination for money and other pleasures, yet still be pressed for honor, as he cannot tolerate being on a lower status than his friends. It was this which, according to our sages," and he's quoting the Zohar here, "caused the sins of the spies to slander the land and brought death upon them and the entire generation. For they feared lest their honor be diminished when they would enter the land, and they will no longer be princes among Israel, and others will serve in their stead." Very interesting, because these 12 spies, we have to remember, they were not random people. They were the heads of their tribes. And they were afraid that they have this position of being the head of the tribe only in the desert. But once they enter to the promised land, maybe the reality will be different there. And maybe there we won't be as special as we are now. We are so special that we were picked to be the spies representing the entire people of Israel to go and scout the land. They were afraid that once they enter the land, there will be one more. Right? Because people will be spread everywhere, they will have cities, and the structure of society will be totally different. So this is interesting, and I think everybody can be reflected in this text a little bit, on how and our fear of change sometimes involves that in a new situation, we are not going to be as special as we are now. And so we avoid change, even though we inside our hearts we know that change is good. But and I could have lots of things, but I will lose my special place. I want to be honored. I want to be recognized. I want everybody to see how special I am. And if I lose that, I won't be happy. And this is a big mistake that we make in our lives when we base our happiness on external circumstances. We have to find happiness inside ourselves, because otherwise, this is what happened. Sometimes we missed amazing opportunities because the external circumstances will be different. So it's something to, I believe, to think about and to meditate about. Yeah. So, any questions, any comments? That was actually my last slide to share with you this Friday in preparation for Shabbat. So, if I have any comments, I would like to see them now. Let's see. Pauline Taylor, what are you saying? Hold on a minute. Moses, my favorite prophets of the Old Testament. We may be different, but we have so much in common. Oh, well, we haven't even talked about Moses actually in this class. Don't even let me start with that. That's a whole different dimension of human psychology to try to understand Moses, and that's an interesting thing. Hi, Priscilla. And but maybe one day we can dedicate a class just to talk about Moses. But he was great. In fact, in the Torah, he's recognized as the greatest prophet. The only one who saw God face to face. He was described like that. Yeah. Gloria says, thank you, Rabbi. Nuestra emuná se aumenta. Very interesting in Spanish. It says our emuná grows with this teaching. Our emuná is our faith, right? Torah is speaking to us every day, enriching our lives. Lots of blessing for me and my family. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So how happiness is seen on Torah? Well, happiness is a very interesting word, a very interesting concept. In fact, happiness is more about certain things that we do and don't do that it will have a positive impact in our lives. We know that there are certain things that we do that they bring negativity inside ourselves. So the way we feel about that is we don't feel happy. We don't feel happy. It's more happiness is related to being aware that you are where you're supposed to be. That I think would be in a nutshell, and it deserves to be explored a little bit more. But happiness is related to your faith, to your emunah. Emunah being that feeling that you trust on God no matter what. Because basically, if you can go through life trusting that you are where you're supposed to be and you're experiencing what you're supposed to experience because everything is for your very good, is for your own benefit, then that will bring you that feeling that you're looking for. The problem is when we are in a place in life where we feel this is not what I'm supposed to be. I'm not experiencing what I'm supposed to be experiencing, right? So in other words, we are trying to outsmart God. We are telling God, let me tell you where I want to be. But we have sometimes to undo that path and to trust that God is pushing us through certain situations because we should be there, because it is something that we can learn where we are, that we are going to need for the next stage. If you can live that day to day with that feeling, that is going to bring happiness to your life. But that's in a nutshell, of course. That's way more complex to that. Thank you, Pauline. And yep. Okay. Again, thank you all for pretty severe consequences just for being weak. Yeah, well, I believe that if you're talking about the Parsha, I think this is something that it was written in the Torah so we can learn about the consequences that sometimes happen in our lives when we take that kind of road. There are things that happen, and the Torah sometimes is putting very strong examples so we can learn from them, so we can avoid it in our lives. Of course, sometimes we can be weak in certain situations, and we will never experience 40 years in the desert. But it doesn't mean that we won't experience 40 years in the deserts with quotation mark, right? Something that feels like that. And I believe that that's what the Torah is trying to teach us. Okay, thank you all for tuning in, and thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe to our channels. If you haven't subscribed yet, it's great, because if you subscribe, and on top of that, if you hit the bell, there you will be notified every time that we go live, and you won't miss any of our videos, any of our classes. We are working really hard to put great content on the internet to reach you, to enrich your lives, to bring some joy in these challenging times. So give us the opportunity to do that. Feel free to share this channel with your friends, so we can reach even more people. I would like to wish you all Shabbat Shalom. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and stay safe, and hope to see you soon. Hi, Alan. Shabbat Shalom to you too. Bye for now.